close. I'm personally obsessed with creating opportunities in museums for strangers to meet and talk with each other. This is partly based on my own stranger fear and desire to have somebody else help me meet strangers, and a feeling that I often have great encounters with strangers, but it's also based on audience research which shows that visitors consistently self-report that social experiences are one of the #1 positive things that happen for them in museums. Whether it's with their family who they came with, or whether it's with a staff member, people like getting to talk to new people in museums. And I think museums are particularly good for this. This is an image from an exhibition called Race, Are We So Different? It's an anthropological exhibition about the origins and social constructs around race. It was created by the Science Museum of Minnesota. And these teenagers are looking at a very provocative exhibit. It's very simple. It's just stacks of money representing the racial inequities in pay in the U.S. So this is the white stack, this is the black stack, they go down. One of the things that happens in a lot of the pictures from this exhibit are images of people pointing at things. And I like to use pointiness as a kind of evaluation metric for how much people want to share what they're seeing. Because you never point something out on your own. You're always pointing something else to someone else. And I feel like these kinds of objects, and we all know this is true, that there are objects in museums that get people talking about things like pay inequity and race that they otherwise would not talk with each other about. This is 2 images from an exhibit I did with a group of graduate students at the University of Washington. I challenged them to make an exhibit that would get strangers talking to each other, and they built an exhibit about advice. And these are just a couple images from it. On the left is a comment board. I like experimenting with comment boards, and we did a very simple thing here. We let people use big comment stickies to put up questions and small ones to answer them. So up here it says, what's the best way to cure a hangover? And then there are all these answers. Ginger ale and French fries, drink more, there's all these different things. And some of these questions were very serious, some of them were more fun, but allowed people, instead of just using a comment board to share their reaction, to actually help each other and give each other advice. Now, my favorite part of this exhibit, though, was this. I hope it's light enough that you can see. It's an advice booth, and it was incredibly popular. We didn't staff it with staff. We let visitors come and be part of being behind the advice booth. So if it was open, you could sit there or you could sign up. We had an 8-year-old who loved it so much he came back twice. People gave advice about all kinds of things. The 8-year-old was really great. I always remember standing nearby when this college student, this young woman, came up to him and said, my relationship with my boyfriend has gotten a little stale. What should I do? And he said, you should do something you've never done before, like stay up all night and eat candy. I mean, he gave some pretty great advice. But the reason as a designer I'm interested in this is because I believe that the $25 we spent on the plywood to make this structure is what made this possible. That we could have had the most comfortable couches and a beautiful sign that said, sit here and give strangers advice. And I am confident that people would have avoided those couches like the plague, or maybe they would have turned over the sign and then sat there. But because there was this frame that was reminiscent of kind of that Snoopy Peanuts thing, people felt like, oh, I know what this is. This is easy. This is fun. And it let them do something really extraordinary, which is to give and get advice from strangers. Now, the project that inspires me most in this way is a project called the Human Library. And the Human Library is an event that's staged all over the world, at libraries, at festivals, sometimes at museums. And it's a library. There are books, and there are librarians, and there are readers. But the books are not regular books. They're people who represent stereotypes. So if I'm a reader, I come to the Human Library, I flip through the catalog, and the catalog will have things in it like transsexual, soldier, goth, obese person. And I can check out a book, which means I'm going to get to sit down with a real person who really is that thing and have a conversation. This is a quote from somebody from the first one that happened in Istanbul, and she's talking about how she never had a gay friend and how exciting and unusual it was to be directly interacting with him. I think often when we think about social experiences in museums, we think, oh, it's just a big party for people to come with their own friends, and are they really connecting to the place? And what I find is so extraordinary about Human Library is it's a project that gets people engaging with really challenging new ideas, doing the kind of learning we want to happen in these institutions. And again, I think that like the advice booth, the analogy and the metaphor of using a library. And this idea that you're going to be in a space that's about learning, that's about respect, that's about being safe, allows this to happen. And that even though the library construction is very, very thin with Human Library, it's enough to make people comfortable doing something that otherwise they would never do.